again, this is your teacher Maha, and I'm very glad, I'm happy because by now your English is very sophisticated. Why? Because you are already using the present perfect simple and the present perfect continuous, okay? So congratulations, by the time you are using that, your English becomes more sophisticated, right? As I know you are, okay? But let's move on. Let's learn about a new grammar point, okay? Ruffle. Now we are studying about the past perfect, okay? So the past perfect, it's similar to a thing we in Portuguese would say pretérito mais que perfeito. Oh my God, I didn't learn that in school. Don't worry, in English it's easier, right? So for example, we use the past perfect when we want to talk about two different moments in the past. So this is the present. I'm in the present, right? But I want to mention about two different moments in the past. So for example, let's imagine that situation in which you missed some flight, right? That's terrible, right? And that's a classic thing to happen. So for example, imagine that when you got to the airport or when you arrived in the airport, the plane had already taken off, right? So you can see clearly that the action of taking off that the plane has done, it came before the action of me coming into the airport, right? So it's a very sophisticated way of organizing your thoughts because you're talking about two different moments in the past, right? So let's take a look at a real example of that, okay? When you came home, we had already gone to bed. Okay, so she came home, she said hello, but everybody was sleeping, okay? So you agree with me when we say that before she came home, so this is the second action. Before she came home, somebody had already gone to bed, right? So the action of going to bed came first, right? And this, the action before some action is the past perfect, right? And we always use, for us to use a sentence in the past perfect, we have to use had, but not as the past of the verb to have possession, right? It's like had as an auxiliary verb, right? So you always use had. And you always use a verb in the past participle. So in this case, when you came home, we had already gone to bed. So the action before the action in the past, you use the subject had as an auxiliary. You can use some adverb to emphasize, like already, never, ever, right? That we learned in a couple lessons ago. And we use the verb in the past participle. In this case, is the verb to go, which in the past participle it says it's gone, right? So when you came home, we had already gone to bed. Very sophisticated way of using the language, okay? Let's see the second example. She stayed at home because she hadn't sent the emails yet, okay? So the action of staying in the office is the second action, and the first action is sending the emails, but she hadn't sent the emails yet. So because of that, another action in the past didn't happen, right? So she stayed in the office because she hadn't sent the emails, right? Can you tell the difference? Now we are talking about two levels, two layers of the past, right? So very useful. By the time you start using past perfect, you are using your English very sophisticated, in a very sophisticated way, right? There you go. So now let's take a look at some of the expressions, right? The first expression is to give up. Okay, very common. You will use it very often, probably. So this happens a lot. We are trying something very difficult, something we want, but sometimes it gets too difficult and then we give up, right? So for example, that happened to a lot of people, right? Oh, I tried learning English for a couple of years, but I gave up, okay? I stopped trying, right? So in this situation I use in the past, I gave up, right? It's never good to give up, not only on learning English, but on anything, right? So let's take a look at the example. Why did he give up college? Ooh, okay, so he stopped studying. He didn't show up, right? And of course, the verb to give in the simple past is gave, okay? So I gave up, or in the negative, I didn't give up, okay? That's it. Never give up on your dreams, people, right? That's it. Shame on you. This is funny, right? We always use that when we are talking to maybe a baby or a puppy, right? And I have, for example, I have 2 cats at home. I don't know about you, but I have two cats, and they always bite my plants, right? They always chew my plants. So whenever I look at them biting the plants, I say, shame on you, you shouldn't do that, right? So for example, how could you say that? Shame on you, right? So it's like a way of making the person or the pet embarrassed for doing something. Shame on you, you shouldn't play with your food, right? We could tell that to kids, right? Very important and very nice expression. The next one is to be fed up with. Ooh, okay, that's it. To be fed up with is when you can't stand something, okay? You don't tolerate anymore. You don't want to see the thing. You don't want to do the thing again, okay? So for example, I'm fed up with your attitude. I can't put up with your attitude anymore. I can't stand your attitude. I don't want you to act like that. I am fed up with. I am fed up, okay? And as you know, the with is a preposition. So whenever you use a verb after preposition, it comes in the gerund. So I'm fed up with waking up at 5:30. Are you? Right? That's it. So very important expression too. Okay, the next one is to take somebody's breath away. Okay, so imagine you are walking down the street and you see a very famous person. For example, I don't know, Anita or Isis Valverde, right? And you get stunned, you get overwhelmed, and that person takes your breath away, okay? You become breathless. Takes my breath away, takes your breath away, takes her breath away, right? So you can always use the object here, right? That's it. This place takes my breath away. Paris takes my breath away, right? That's it. And the last expression is to make up one's mind, okay? Make up your mind, make up my mind, her mind, is when you have to decide something, right? So for example, I could buy 2 different cars, a red one or a blue one, but I didn't make up my mind yet, right? My mother wants to buy a house in the country, but she hasn't made her mind yet, okay? And so what didn't you make your mind yet, right? That's it. And another very useful and important expression, okay? So thank you again for following me, and I see you next time on the next lesson.